There's no way a mere human could have solved that equation faster than our entire class combined, Korvleth exclaimed, his gelatinous form quivering with indignation. The classroom at the Axion Academy erupted in disbelief. Students from all corners of the galaxy, some with tentacles, others with multiple heads, and a few that were little more than sentient energy fields, chattered, gurgled, and vibrated in astonishment. At the center of this interstellar chaos stood Threxvos, a crystalline being whose body sparkled with embarrassment. "I'm not joking," Korvleth Threx said, his voice tinkling like fragile wind chimes. "I saw it with my own ocular facets. Rin Calder, the human. He just scribbled something on his datapad and handed it in. Instructor Nura Z0 nearly fried her quantum processors trying to analyze it." From the back of the room, a voice cut through the cacophony. "You know, I can hear you all right. It's not like I've got symbiotic algae for ears." All eyes, stalks, and sensory appendages turned to face Rin Calder, the only human in the class. He lounged back in his chair, feet propped up on the desk, casually tossing an apple from hand to hand. The sight of the fruit caused several of his classmates to recoil in horror. Voluntarily ingesting part of another living organism was a repulsive concept to many. "Oh, don't mind us," Avara Quen, an avian-like creature with shimmering feathers, chirped. "We were just discussing how you managed to cheat on yet another impossible assignment. Nothing personal, of course. It's just that your human brain shouldn't be capable of such complex calculations." Rin caught the apple mid-toss and took a big, crunching bite, causing half the class to wince. "First off," he said, speaking around the mouthful of fruit, "I'm human, not a primate. Get your taxonomy straight. Secondly, who says I cheated?" "Well, it's obvious, isn't it?" Korvleth bubbled, his gelatinous body rippling in what passed for laughter. "You're from Terra Prime, a death world. Your species barely discovered space travel a few centuries ago. There's no way you could outperform the finest minds from the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy." Rin rolled his eyes so hard it looked like they might pop out of his skull, an action that caused several alien classmates to gasp, thinking it was some sort of human defense mechanism. "Right? Because being from a death world automatically makes me an idiot," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "It couldn't possibly be that growing up on a planet constantly trying to kill us sharpens our problem-solving skills." The classroom fell silent, processing this novel concept. It was Threxvos who finally spoke up, his crystalline voice ringing out. But the assignment was to calculate the gravitational flux of a binary pulsar system, accounting for quantum fluctuations in the surrounding dark matter field. That's beyond even our most advanced AI systems." Rin shrugged, taking another bite of his apple. "Yeah, and it sounds like typical Tuesday night homework for high school physics class back on Terra Prime." The silence that followed was so profound you could hear a neutrino drop. Avara Quen squawked, "High school. You're telling us this is the level of education you give to your young well? Not everyone takes advanced astrophysics in high school," Ran admitted, tossing the apple core into a nearby recycling unit. "But it's an option. I mean, how else are we supposed to prepare the next generation for the cutthroat world of intergalactic academia?" The assembled aliens exchanged bewildered glances. The idea that humans would subject their offspring to such mental rigors was almost as horrifying as Ren's casual consumption of plant matter. But how Korvleth demanded, his gelatinous form now a turbulent whirlpool of confusion. How could you possibly solve an equation that stumped the brightest minds from the Hylian Spire? Rin sighed, realizing he wasn't going to get any peace until he explained. He stood up, stretched, causing several nearby aliens to flinch at the audible popping of his joints, and made his way to the holographic board at the front of the class. "All right, gather round, class. Uncle Rin's about to blow your minds, figuratively speaking, of course. Wouldn't want anyone with easily ruptured cranial membranes to get the wrong idea." The assorted alien students cautiously approached. Rin began sketching his solution on the board, his classmates watching in a mixture of awe and horror as complex equations materialized before their eyes. "You see," Rin said, his tone somewhere between a lecture and a stand-up routine, "the trick is to approach the problem from a multi-dimensional perspective. You guys are all stuck thinking in linear time, but if you consider the gravitational effects across all possible quantum states simultaneously. He continued his explanation, peppering it with Earth-based analogies that left his audience more confused than ever. It's like trying to calculate the trajectory of a football during a game of underwater rugby if the football was also Schrödinger's cat and the field was actually the surface of a Mobius strip. By the time Rin finished, half the class was staring at him in slack-jawed amazement, while the other half seemed to be experiencing the alien equivalent of an existential crisis. A tentative appendage rose from the back of the room, belonging to Zelith Arn. A being composed entirely of electromagnetic waves. Yes, what's a football? Rin face-palmed so hard the sound echoed through the classroom. Really? That's your takeaway? Well, excuse us, Avara huffed, ruffling her feathers. Some of us were a bit preoccupied trying to comprehend how you turned the fundamental laws of physics into a pretzel. What now? Threxvos asked, even more confused. Oh, for the love of Rian groaned. It's a type of food. Never mind. Look, the point is, the solution isn't that complicated if you just think outside the box. Korvleth asked slowly, his gelatinous form morphing into a rough cube shape. But we're not in a box. The classroom is clearly a dodecahedron. Rin took a deep breath, reminding himself that patience was a virtue, especially when dealing with beings whose grasp of metaphor was about as developed as a flatworm's understanding of interpretive dance. It's a figure of speech, he explained. It means to think creatively, to approach a problem from an unexpected angle. Oh, Threx exclaimed, his crystalline structure vibrating with excitement. So when you say think outside the box, you actually mean consider alternative problem-solving methodologies beyond conventional paradigms? Ryan blinked. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. Just then, the classroom door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing instructor Nura Z0. The robotic instructor's lead eyes flickered rapidly as she scanned the room. Students, she intoned, her voice a melodious hum. I trust you have been using this time productively to discuss the finer points of quantum gravitational theory. The aliens began speaking all at once, a cacophony of chirps, burbles, and electromagnetic pulses filling the air. Rin, meanwhile, leaned back against the holographic board, an amused smirk on his face. Nura Z0's head rotated a full 360 degrees, her version of a confused head shake. One at a time, please, she turned to Threx. Perhaps you can summarize. Well, Instructor Threx said nervously, his crystal facets shimmering. That is to say, Rin was explaining how he solved the homework assignment. Nura Z0's lead eyes blinked rapidly. Ah, yes. Mr. Calder's solution. I must admit, it was unexpected. That's one way of putting it, Korvleth muttered, earning him a sharp glance from the instructor's rear set of optical sensors. Indeed, Nura Z0 continued. Mr. Calder's approach to the problem was unorthodox, to say the least. However, after running the calculations through my quantum processor several trillion times, I can confirm that his solution is not only correct but also elegantly simple. A collective gasp rippled through the classroom. Even Rin looked surprised. He hadn't been entirely sure his back-of-the-napkin calculations would hold up under scrutiny. But how? Avarakwen squawked. How could a human from a backwater death world possibly outperform the most advanced minds in the galaxy? Nura Z0's lead eyes shifted to a soft blue, her version of a gentle smile. Perhaps, Avara, that is precisely the reason. Mr. Calder, would you care to elaborate? All eyes turned to Rin once again. He scratched the back of his head, suddenly feeling self-conscious. Well, I guess it's like this. On Terra Prime, we're kind of used to things trying to kill us all the time, weather, wildlife, the environment, you name it. So we've had to get good at thinking on our feet. It's not about being smarter, really, it's about being adaptable. Fascinating, Nura Z0 hummed. And how does this relate to your solution for the gravitational flux problem? Rin grinned. Well, when I looked at the equation, I saw it kind of like a predator-prey relationship. The pulsars are the predators, the dark matter is the prey, and the gravitational flux is like the ecosystem they're operating in. Once I framed it that way, the solution just fell into place. The classroom erupted into excited chatter. Aliens furiously took notes, their appendages flying across data pads and neural interfaces. Silence, please, Nura Z0 called out, her voice cutting through the din. Mr. Calder, your perspective is indeed enlightening. Perhaps there is much we can learn from the unique experiences of your species. Ren laughed. Well, Prof, if you think this is mind-blowing, wait until I tell you guys how we use fluid dynamics to perfect a pizza toss. A confused silence followed, broken only by Threx Voss's tentative question. What's a pizza? Ren's eyes lit up with a mischievous gleam. Oh boy, are you in for a treat, figuratively speaking, of course. Half of you would probably dissolve if you tried to eat it. He strode back to the board, erasing his previous equations with a wave of his hand. All right, class, settle in for a crash course in Terra Prime culinary physics. The aliens exchanged worried glances. They had signed up for advanced quantum mechanics, not whatever culinary physics was. But curiosity, that universal trait that transcended species boundaries, got the better of them. Now, picture this, Ren said, sketching a rough circle on the board. You've got a disk of dough, right? But not just any dough. This stuff's got gluten, protein molecules that give it this amazing elastic property. Elastic dough, Korv gurgled, his gelatinous form rippling with confusion. You mean it's bouncy? Not exactly, Ren chuckled, but close enough. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you toss this dough into the air, you're not just showing off, you're using centrifugal force to stretch it out evenly. He proceeded to draw a series of diagrams, complete with force vectors and rotational axes. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as Ryan described the complex interplay of physics and gastronomy. But that's not all. Ren continued, really getting into his impromptu lecture. You've got to factor in air resistance, room humidity, even the microscopic variations in the dough's surface tension. It's a delicate balance, see? Too much force, and you tear the dough. Too little, and you don't get that perfect circular shape. Nura Z0, who had been silently observing, finally spoke up. Mr. Calder, are you suggesting that your species has developed a branch of physics dedicated solely to the preparation of food? Ran grinned. Oh, Prof, you have no idea. We've got entire institutes dedicated to food science. Ever heard of molecular gastronomy? It's like quantum mechanics, but for your taste buds. The class erupted into a flurry of questions, each alien trying to wrap their minds around this bizarre concept. But why? Threx Voss's crystalline voice cut through the chaos. Why expend so much mental energy on something as trivial as sustenance? Rin's smile faded slightly, replaced by a thoughtful expression. You know, that's a fair question. I guess it goes back to what I said earlier about Terra Prime being a death world. When you're living on a planet where everything's trying to kill you, food becomes more than just fuel. It's comfort. It's culture. It's a way of bringing people together. A hush fell over the classroom as the aliens pondered this new perspective. Avara Quen, always curious, chirped up. I think I understand. It's like how my species developed our complex mating dances in the face of constant predation. We found beauty and meaning in movement. Ren snapped his fingers and pointed at her. Exactly. See? You guys get it. Korv, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly bubbled up. But Ren, this still doesn't explain how you solved the gravitational flux problem. Ren laughed. Doesn't it, though? It's all about perspective, Core. When you're used to looking at the universe through the lens of how can I turn this into a tasty meal without dying, suddenly a little thing like quantum mechanics doesn't seem so intimidating. Nura Z0 stepped forward, her metallic form gleaming under the classroom lights. Students, I believe we have stumbled upon something remarkable. Mr. Calder's unique perspective doesn't just offer a solution to our immediate problem, it opens up entirely new avenues of scientific inquiry. The robotic instructor turned to Rin, her voice modulator conveying a rare sense of excitement. Mr. Calder, how would you feel about leading a seminar on what we shall call adaptive problem-solving lessons from Terra Prime? Rin blinked, taken aback. Me? Teach? But I'm just a student who has demonstrated a remarkable ability to think outside conventional parameters, Nura Z0 countered. I believe your fellow classmates could benefit greatly from your insights. The aliens in the room looked at Ren with a mixture of curiosity, apprehension, and in some cases what passed for excitement. Threx Voss's crystalline structure vibrated at a frequency that could only be described as eager, while Korvleth's gelatinous form had taken on a hue that Rin had learned to associate with intense interest. Rin rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous human habit that never failed to fascinate his alien classmates. I mean, I guess I could give it a shot. But you guys have to promise not to freak out when I start talking about some of the crazier aspects of Terra Prime life. A chorus of agreement rippled through the classroom, expressed in various alien languages and communication methods. Nura Z0's lead eyes blinked in a pattern that Rin had come to recognize as satisfaction. Excellent. We shall schedule your first seminar for next week. I look forward to seeing how this experiment in cross-species education unfolds. As the class began to disperse, still buzzing with excitement over the day's unexpected turn of events, Rin found himself surrounded by a small group of his most curious classmates. Avara Quen was the first to speak, her iridescent feathers ruffling with barely contained enthusiasm. Rin, I simply must know what other Terra Prime skills have you humans developed? Are they all as fascinatingly complex as this pizza tossing you mentioned? Rin couldn't help but laugh. Oh man, where do I even start? We've turned practically everything into an art form or a science. You should see what we've done with Coffee Zelith Arn's electromagnetic form pulsed with curiosity. Is that another form of sustenance, sort of? Rian grinned. It's a beverage we make from roasted beans, but it's so much more than that. It's fuel for all-night study sessions, social lubricant for awkward first dates, and the lifeblood of our entire civilization. Korvleth's gelatinous form rippled with confusion. You derive your civilization's energy from a bean-based liquid? How? Primitively charming, Ren rolled his eyes. It's a figure of speech, Kor. He paused, a mischievous glint in his eye. Although I wouldn't be surprised if some of our engineers have tried to power a spacecraft with espresso. The aliens exchanged bewildered glances, clearly unsure whether Ren was joking or not. It was a common occurrence in their interactions with the human. As they made their way out of the classroom, Threx Voss's crystalline voice chimed in. Ren, I've been analyzing your problem-solving methodology, and I have a query. Does your species always approach challenges through the lens of survival? Rin considered this for a moment as they walked down the holographically enhanced hallway of the Axion Academy. The walls shimmered with real-time representations of various cosmic phenomena, a black hole consuming a star here, a supernova explosion there. Not always, Rin finally replied. But I think it's ingrained in our psychology, you know. Even when we're not in immediate danger, there's this part of our brain that's always on alert, always looking for creative solutions to potential threats. Fascinating, Threx hummed. And how does this mindset manifest in your everyday life? Ren chuckled. Man, well, let's see. We turn practically everything into a competition. We have sports where we deliberately put ourselves in danger for fun. We create art that explores the darkest aspects of our psyche. We even have a holiday where we dress up as the things that scare us and give candy to children. The aliens fell silent, trying to process this information. It was Avara Quen who finally spoke up, her avian features contorted in what Rin had learned was an expression of deep confusion. But why she chirped? Why deliberately seek out danger and fear? Surely the logical course of action would be to minimize risk and maximize safety. Rin shrugged. You'd think so, right? But here's the thing for us. Comfort isn't always comfortable. We thrive on challenge, on pushing our limits. It's like, imagine if you never used your wings, Avara. They'd atrophy, become useless. We see our capacity for problem-solving the same way. If we don't exercise it, we lose it. As they reached the grand atrium of the Axion Academy, with its swirling nebula ceiling and anti-gravity lounging areas, the group paused. The aliens seemed deep in thought, processing this new perspective on human psychology. It was Nura Z0, who had silently accompanied the group, who broke the contemplative silence. Students, I believe we are witnessing a pivotal moment in galactic education. Mr. Calder's insights offer us a unique opportunity to expand our understanding of problem-solving and adaptation. Her lead eyes flickered through a series of complex patterns before settling on a warm amber glow. I propose we expand Mr. Calder's seminar into a full-course Terra Prime Dynamics lessons in adaptive problem-solving. We'll invite experts from other species that evolved in high-stress environments. This could revolutionize our approach to galactic challenges. The excitement among the alien students was palpable. Zealot's electromagnetic form pulsed so rapidly it was almost painful to look at, while Korvleth had shifted into a shape that Rin could only describe as an enthusiastic squiggle. "Oh man," Rin groaned, though he couldn't hide the smile tugging at his mouth. "What have I gotten myself into?" "The opportunity of a lifetime," Mr. Calder Nora Z0 replied, her voice modulator somehow conveying a sense of warmth. "Or should I say?" Professor Calder Rand's eyes widened. "Wait, what? Professor? But I'm still a student." "In quantum mechanics, yes," Nora Z0 acknowledged. "But in the field of Terra Prime Dynamics, you are currently the foremost expert in our galaxy. Unless, of course, you'd prefer we invite another human to lead the course." The thought of any of his fellow humans being turned loose on this unsuspecting alien academy made Rin shudder. He could just imagine his roommate Mike trying to explain the intricacies of Earth's most dangerous sport, competitive hot dog eating. No, Rin said hastily. "I'll do it. Someone's got to represent Terra Prime without causing an interstellar incident." As the group dispersed, each heading off to their respective habitats for the night cycle, Rin found himself alone with Nora Z0 in the softly glowing atrium. "I must confess," Mr. Calder the robot said, her voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper, an impressive feat for a being without lungs. "I had my doubts when the exchange program first brought you here. I feared you might struggle to keep up with our advanced curriculum." Rin raised an eyebrow. And now Nora Z0's lead eyes twinkled literally. "Now, I find myself wondering if perhaps it is we who need to catch up to you." As Ren made his way back to his quarters, his mind buzzed with ideas for his upcoming seminar. He'd start with the basics, of course, a crash course in Terra Prime's geology and climate, a brief overview of the more terrifying aspects of human history. But where to go from there? He could delve into the psychology of risk-taking, the evolutionary advantages of curiosity, maybe even a practical demonstration of human problem-solving skills. He grinned at the thought of introducing his alien classmates to escape rooms, or better yet, Dungeons and Dragons. As he entered his room, Ren's eyes fell on the small terrarium he kept on his desk. Inside, a tiny cactus stood defiantly, its spines gleaming under the artificial sunlight. It was a small piece of Terra Prime, a constant reminder of the harsh beauty of his homeworld. Ren smiled, reaching out to gently touch the glass. "Well, little guy," he murmured, "looks like we've got some teaching to do. Time to show this galaxy what Earthlings are really made of." As he settled in for the night, Ren couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He might be just one human in a vast alien universe, but today he'd taken the first step toward bridging the gap between worlds. And who knew? Maybe, just maybe, by sharing the lessons learned on their unforgiving homeworld, humans could help create a safer, more adaptable galaxy for all species. With that thought warming his heart, Rin drifted off to sleep, dreaming of pizza-tossing competitions in zero-gravity and interstellar coffee shops where humans and aliens shared stories of their wildest problem-solving adventures. Little did he know, his impromptu lesson had already set in motion a chain of events that would revolutionize galactic education. In the coming weeks, news of the Terra Prime Dynamics course would spread across the cosmos, drawing curious students and skeptical academics from every corner of the known universe. And at the center of it all would be Rin Calder, the unassuming human who had turned a simple homework assignment into a galactic phenomenon. Armed with nothing but his wit, his unique Earthling perspective, and an endless supply of baffling metaphors, he was about to take the academic world by storm. As for his alien classmates, they were in for the educational adventure of a lifetime. After all, they had yet to experience the mind-bending complexities of human idioms, the terror of Terra Prime's wildlife documentaries, or the existential crisis induced by contemplating the plot of Inception. But that, as they say on Terra Prime, is a story for another day. Or, as Rin would put it, much to his classmates' confusion, that's a whole other can of worms, folks, and trust me, you're not ready for the can opener yet. The Axion Academy was about to get a crash course in Earthling 101, and the universe would never be the same again.